Welcome back to Questing Beast. Today we're going to look at Anomalous Subsurface Environment Dungeon Level 1, created by Patrick Wetmore back in 2011. This book was voted on by my patrons on Patreon, and they decided that this should be my next book to review, so let's do it. Like I said, it's a Megadungeon. This is printed off of Lulu, so it is a paperback format. It is about 85 pages long. Here's what our back looks like. Here we have our blade zombie, the type of monster you're typically going to fight in a dungeon like this. It was created for Labyrinth Lord, which basically is a retroclone of basic / advanced or expert rather D&D. So it's a very old school rule set, but it's not hard to convert to a normal rule set or a modern day one like 5th edition, if that's what you choose to do. The construction is fine. The print quality is a bit low. The blacks are not very black, but that's what you get from Lulu since it doesn't do offset printing. Let's take a look at what we have here. So it does come with a campaign setting called the Land of 1,000 Towers. And the general feel of the setting is gonzo science fantasy. So although it uses old school D&D rules, there's a lot of laser guns, robots, and things like that in here. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, you'll probably enjoy this. Some of the interesting things about it. We have the history of the world. There was a disaster at some point in the past. The civilization was wiped out, and now things have regressed to a more medieval setting where magic has reemerged. But things from the past still linger. For example, there are a lot of satellites up in orbit that have grown artificial intelligence, and these are basically gods now. So your clerics are going to worship AI satellites that manifest themselves through computer screens in their temples. We have some things, some factions in the setting, like the Cult of Science, the Church of Starry Wisdom, which worships Nyarlathotep, the Crawling Chaos, one of the evil gods from Lovecraft. And all the demi-humans are your elves and your dwarves, but they look a bit different since they are actually all artificial creatures in this setting. So there's some twists on them. Goblins are all part of a big hive mind. And here we have the Land of 1,000 Towers, a general hex map of it. The main campaign setting is going to take place around the city of Denethix. But if you want to venture further afield, they give you some guidelines here. The 1,000 Towers are all wizard towers. Basically, this is a part of the world where wizards just show up like everywhere. Wizards are basically just people who have found power, not necessarily magic, but have become more powerful than any mortal really should be, and are now lording it over their neighbors, either by enslaving them or sacrificing them to their evil experiments. All of the nearby areas, like the Worthless North, the Eater of Cities, the Offshore Arcology, the Livid Fens, and so on, all get a nice short little write-up that allows you to get some ideas for what it would be like there, although there's not a ton of information. But then we get into Denethix, which is the main city that the non-dungeon part of this is going to take place in. And Denethix was ruled by a wizard, as all cities are, but the wizard was killed and his counselors have basically taken over while preventing anyone from realizing that the wizard is dead. So that's the basic setup for the city. We have a lot of interesting factions for the city, which is essential for any sort of urban campaign. We have the main locations in the city. Here we have a map of it. The main downside of this map is that due to the way that all the little houses are drawn in gray, it's actually very difficult to tell where or what the writing is, because it's kind of merged in with the grayness in the background there. So that's a downside. But the locations themselves are actually very interesting. A lot of them are very funny, and they're almost always surprising, which is exactly what you want in a setting like this. You want to be surprised. You want to be engaged. We have little lists of inns that you can find in every section of the city. A lot of them have in jokes built into them. So there's like the B&X Breakfast Pavilion, which is a reference to basic / expert D&D. Street of the Alien, the Verdant Plaza, Inn of Alabaster Surprise. We have a bank that you can conquer. We have some of the major temples here. We have an underworld, an underground city. Nearby in Denethix, there's a whole bunch of nearby villages, and each of these are detailed here, each of which has something very distinct and unique about them that makes them worth visiting. And like any good city campaign, we have tons of random tables to make the place come alive. Rumors of things that are happening, unusual curios to find, shops, random city events, always essential to keep the city moving. Encounters that you're going to run into, dangers, encounters for towns and villages nearby. Good, clean country violence, fashion for wealthy gentlemen, haute couture for ladies of means. And like I said, this is a very gonzo setting, so a lot of the descriptions are just kind of goofy and don't take themselves very seriously, which can be quite a nice change for a lot of people. For example, one of the ladies' costumes, artfully torn leather pants with artfully torn silk blouse with artfully ragged silk scarf. Who is that bad girl? We get a lot of stuff like that. You got your barkeepers. You have horrible secrets that people can have. Villagers, urban poor, the bourgeoisie, the opulent. No shortage of NPCs to run into. Aliens, a whole bunch of unique gods. You know, the artificial intelligences I was talking about. Henchmen for hire. Crazy equipment. So this is science fantasy, like I pointed out. So you're going to have plasma guns and laser rifles and things like that mixed in with your halberds. Your cost of living. And we got some of the wizards. So there aren't any wizards in the city of Denethix itself, but there's wizards nearby in the towers. This also makes things interesting because if one of your players is a wizard, they're going to have to watch out. Because people generally don't like wizards. They're either terrified of them or try and kill them on sight. They have names like Monsantor or Monsator, who is actually a crop wizard. So you got in-jokes like that. The Anomalous Subsurface Environment. So basically, the actual dungeon itself is in a huge mountain with the easiest levels at the top and getting more difficult as you go down deeper into the mountain. And so it was apparently discovered in our era and turned into a research facility because of its strange properties. But after the disaster that ended technology, it was sealed off for thousands of years until now. It comes with a short little adventure, the Mokhtar layer, that you can use to start out the adventure and give you the clues that you need to get to the dungeon. And we have Mount Rendon, the mountain itself, and the gatehouse. So this is a pre-first level. And it's pretty small by this book's standards. It only has 32 rooms, which seems like a lot, but this is a Megadungeon, so 32 rooms is not a lot. By the way, there's going to be spoilers. I'll be spoiling a lot of this dungeon, so if you're going to play in it rather than run it, fair warning. This is run by crazy robots that have gone insane that used to sweep the place, and keep it clean, but have gone crazy over the thousands of years of hanging out there. Some of them have gone so crazy they've started to cannibalize living creatures and build their bones and flesh into their robotic skeletons. We have a big abomination, which is the biggest monster you have to fight. We have the dungeon highway. So this is the main first level of the dungeon. I'll give you a picture of what it looks like. So here's what we're looking at here. This level of the dungeon has 101 rooms, which is quite substantial. You could have many sessions in here without ever getting to the second level. And there is another book that has the second and third levels, but that's in a separate book, and I'll review that at some other point. So the main structure of this is that there's a main dungeon highway here, and then that kind of breaks up the map into two major areas. Now, the main thing that I would have liked here in terms of design is that this is the only map of the first level. What I would have liked to see is on, say, this page goes from rooms 1 through 5. I would have liked to see a smaller map that just focused on rooms 1 through 5, so I wouldn't have to flip back constantly when I'm trying to figure out where things are in relation to other rooms. So that's a more modern design principle that I would have liked to see. But this is an older book, so. Lots of crazy traps, lots of weirdo monsters. We have portals that connect to different layers in the dungeon or back outside of the dungeon to the main campaign setting, if you want to get in and out more quickly. The dungeon is very interconnected. So this is the opposite of a linear dungeon. You can explore this in 1,000 different ways. And that's great for players who like exploration and who like using the environment to their advantage. Because there are all sorts of ways that you could use the dungeon against enemies, especially since there are plenty of factions, which is essential for any big mega dungeon. You need to have lots of factions because that brings the place to life. You can have the different NPCs interact with each other, and you can turn them against each other by allying yourself with one of them. That's a great thing. The Misty Arches, here's a great room where there's a basin full of water, and there's 6 or 7, I think, smaller rooms nearby, each of which gives you a different effect if you pour the water into a basin in that room. And each room has murals on the walls that give you hints about what the effect might be, but they don't tell you exactly. That's a very old school type of room where you use the player's intuition and caution. Maybe they're going to use an NPC or a henchman to test these rooms out to see what they do. But each one can give you a useful tool, basically, that you can use to your advantage. For example, we've got a red mist room that gives you a little glowing sphere that is basically a fireball spell if you throw it. We have the white mist room that has murals of clouds, and if you pour the water into the basin there, you can fly for a while, etc. Because this is an old school dungeon, very little thought is given to balance. Sure, the monsters are mostly suitable for first or second level characters, but because of its wide open nature, encounters could be very dangerous or very easy depending on how well prepared the players are and what advantages they brought to the table. The book also recommends that you don't give the players any maps, that you just describe each room and let them map it themselves. So a lot of players love that, and some players really hate it. So you're going to have to talk to your players if that's how you decide to run the game. There are some situations, though, where if players are mapping carefully, then they'll be able to figure out where hidden rooms are. Because they'll say, wait, we've been through these 4 rooms, and these 4 rooms all, form edges around this empty space in the middle of them that looks like a 5th room. I bet there's something there. Let's look for a secret entrance. So mapping that themselves can be a lot of fun because it gives them a sense of real discovery. The very end of this has a giant treasure grinder, a massive uber trap that can reward you with tons of treasure, but will most likely chew you to a pulp and then melt you into acid. So keep your eye out for that. Like I said, it's not balanced, it's not fair, and it's not intended to be. It rewards player intelligence and player cleverness in order to get through. We've got some cool magic items. Amulet of Vampiric Health that sucks hit points away from neighbors. The Circlet of Meat Detection that lets you find nearby living objects, which is useful for helping to figure out if there's monsters nearby. But also, every time you use it, there's a risk of it turning you into a cannibal. We have the Malicious Mirror, which is basically a evil mirror. Every time you look into it, something horrible appears. And if you manage to actually sell it to someone, then it will stick around with that person and will refuse to leave them. If you try and cover it up, then it'll remove its coverings. If you try and smash it, it'll repair itself. So that can open up some new hooks in a campaign when you're dealing with the merchants that you've sold this horrible thing to. For example, some of the things that might happen are all living creatures reflected appear as fleshless skeletons. Or the viewer sees himself and all others in the room with him, but the images in the mirror are standing very still, staring at the viewer. Basically, it's a way to creep out your players. We got the unique monsters that are in this book. It doesn't cover your standard D&D monsters that it assumes you already have the stats for. It just covers the new stuff. We got your crazy robots. We got your blade zombies. It can headbutt you with its eye daggers. We got your cornstalk warriors, minions of Monsator. We have your, what are these guys called again? Corpse jellies. So it's a type of jelly. It touches you and you got some jelly on yourself. No big deal. But if you die, then that jelly slowly takes over your skeleton, reanimates you, and turns you against your friends. We have your giant earwigs. There's a lot of giant bugs in here. Your exterminators, your goblin spiders, malignant spheres, your Mokhtars. This is one of the factions in the dungeon. They're basically lion people. Your Morlocks, that's one of the other factions. Giant pillbugs, your Sasquatrons, which is a Sasquatch with a giant crab arm and a robot head. Like you do. And that's about it. You got your Shriekers, your evil undead, not undead, but just sort of horrible, degenerate humanoids running around shrieking, using their echolocation to find you. And you have some more giant bugs. So that's about it for this. If you are into Megadungeons, if you've ever wanted to try one, this can be a great place to start. Get some level 1 characters together. You could use, basic or advanced, you could use Labyrinth Lord, the version that this uses. You could use Lamentations of the Flame Princess or Dungeon Crawl Classics or whatever you feel like, and run them through, see how many people survive, and teach your players to get clever, because they're going to need to be clever in order to survive. There's a lot of stuff that you can rip out of this and add to your own campaign, and I found it just really enjoyable to read on its own, so it's good for that too. It's available on Lulu. I will put the link down below if you want to check it out. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, you can subscribe right over here. You can also join me on Patreon if you'd like to support me making more videos like this, because buying books like this isn't cheap. And you can check out more of my videos over here. Thank you for watching. Leave some feedback below about this video. If you have any ideas for other Mega Dungeons I should check out, please let me know. And I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.